What are the odds that we'd get snow here on Medved Taiga as we set out to take a look at my Call of the Wild wishlist for 2025 and beyond? It is the perfect scene, and yes, it is time to sit down and take a look at all the features, additions, maps, great ones, all those sorts of things that I'm hoping to see sometime in the next year or down the road. And we'll start with a very basic concept, which is more on the side of cosmetics: customizable clothing. Basically, we have the ability to customize our guns. We have the ability to customize our binoculars. Why not be able to customize our character's clothing with the already existing in-game cosmetics and just make things a little bit more interesting? In real life, it's very common to wear camouflage that matches the environment that you're hunting in. We have a little bit of that ability in the Hunter Call of the Wild, but it could be so much more enhanced just simply by letting us customize the already existing clothing with the already existing cosmetics. A simple feature, but one that I would really like. Adding a little bit to that, I'd also like the ability to swap different parts of the different outfits, kind of like in the Hunter Classic. For example, maybe we could wear the hat from Christmas Savannah, the gloves from the Remy Warren outfit, maybe the coat from the OG orange camo, the base game camo, just different options like that sort of thing. It would just make our characters feel a little bit more our own, and really, character customization is maybe a broader way to say that. Even just with the camouflage itself though, it's one more thing that kind of ties into the original idea that I really would like to see. But this all makes way more sense and is way more important if we can actually see our character more often, because right now we see this, and other than if we're changing the clothing, we never see what our character really looks like. What's one way to see our character more often? Trophy shots. How often do we harvest something really cool and take 2 quick screenshots, maybe spin it around the harvest screen, and that's that? I'd love the opportunity to take, a better photo on the ground with my character, with the animal, with the weapon, maybe with radar, and just get to appreciate that moment a little bit more. Being able to move the animal around would be ideal, like we're seeing here from the Hunter Classic, but even just a mirror camera would be great. Way the Hunter has one, Red Dead Redemption 2 has one. It would just make each trophy more special, and for the most part, animals fall in decent areas in the Hunter Call of the Wild. We can stamp down the grass, we can make it look decent. Just a simple mirror camera shouldn't be that hard to add, and it could just make those trophy moments feel more special. Now, some of the background footage you're seeing today is from pheasant grinding, as that's what I've been doing kind of with my free time anyway, and hopefully that makes it a little more bearable as I ramble on about all kinds of stuff. And it really doesn't apply for pheasant grinding, but every other sort of hunting. For the most part, we have scopes on our guns, and I think cosmetics for scopes, being able to customize them like we can for the rest of the guns, would be a really great next step. I want to say Jaxy actually hinted at this, but for instance, I have a camo inline muzzleloader in real life, and it's got a camo scope on it. When I run a particular camo on my guns in-game, I'd love to be able to match the camo pattern or the color on the scope as well. Just another thing to kind of personalize and make the game more our own. They've been moving that direction anyway, and something that I'm really hoping we see with the Challenges tab going forward in 2025 is cosmetic related things. Maybe cosmetics we can unlock, special ones for completing certain challenges, those types of ideas. I'd really love to see the ability to add those cosmetics to our different scopes. We just got new scopes, there's an array of options. Being able to make them fit whatever color scheme we've got going on our gun would be pretty cool. So sticking with the weapons theme, if we go back to the 2024 wish list, I accidentally predicted both the 300 AR and the 300 Blackout by being wrong about what a 300 Blackout was, and we'll see how this goes for this year. So I love the new 375. Let's go even bigger. The 416 Rigby is such a really cool caliber. It could be that elusive class 8 to 9 weapon that I've always wanted, and if they were to add it, it would have to have a great report to match the insane power it should be able to deliver. And at this point, let's try to build an entire weapon pack. So from there, let's go the other direction. A 17 HMR. It unfortunately got left behind in the community weapon pack voting. I believe it finished 4th, but it could be so useful. And my vision would be a better 22H. Faster follow-ups, higher capacity, great penetration due to velocity, and I could live with classes 1 to 2, but when we discuss this in stream chats, I know a lot of people want 1 to 3, which would be great for bobcats and lynx and stuff like that. Kinda weird for Axis Deer, if you ask me, but potentially it could be good for the Great One Red Fox grind. And then finally, a little bit of a middle ground, a 25-06. Now, I think we would be looking at another 3-7 gun like the 300 Blackout. We don't have a lot of 3-7s, so that's a plus. And it would be awesome for Class 3 animals. That 300 Blackout is great for things like Springbuck, Lynx, Axis Deer, and a new gun like that would be great for them as well. We're looking at about 400 foot-pounds more energy than a 243, which, since there's just musk deer everywhere, we can go ahead and take down one of those. Maybe, though, we could squish that down into Class 2 and just maybe load our ammo a little less hot. Honestly, I'd be happy either way, but I think we all know no gun can be a universal loadout staple at Class 3-7. It just can't happen. It surrenders too much by not covering Class 2. Either way, though, a 25-06 would be a really great weapon, but it can't possibly be a meta weapon community-wide without that Class 2 coverage. Now this year, I decided to scrap the age thing that I've harped on for like 5 years about, and now I'm going to try a new idea that could be completely revolutionary to the game as well. That would be customized ammo. Why not let us choose between a few different options? For instance, that 25-06 I mentioned, maybe we could choose a 120 grain bullet with 60 grains of powder, or a 85 grain bullet with 42 grains. Something like that could be the difference between a Class 2-6 weapon, which would be ethical for our musk deer, or a Class 3-7 weapon, which of course would not be. Just imagine the loadout combinations if we could customize to our needs for our own playstyle or our individual hunt. Even if it was less about customization, though I think a slider with near limitless options would be pretty sweet. Just let you max out the damage but stay at Class 2 for instance, or go all the way up to Class 3, maybe a minimum Class 3 along that slider. Just even if it was more about a few different options for each weapon. It really could make a lot of weapons more useful, and many of those old, air quotes, useless weapons that we never use anymore could see usage again if we could change the ammo to be whatever we need for that hunt. Again, do I think this is going to happen much like the age thing? Probably not, but it would be really, really cool. I believe this is something that Ultimate Hunting is looking at doing, and I'm excited to see kind of how that goes. Maybe it could spark something in Call of the Wild, and the whole reason I do these videos is maybe one of these ideas does catch on. If that were to happen and the community really runs with it, like we had with turkeys being added, maybe one day that catches fire in the community, gets talked about in streams, and does make its way to the game. That's why we do this in the first place, and I wanted to bring up that idea. Now I will say, honestly, this poses a lot of issues if they were to add that to an already existing game. Namely, bullet drop and actual in-game ballistic performance for each round, even beyond like ethical classes and quick kill and stuff like that, but it could be the start of something cool, and I had to throw something else fundamentally transformative in here if I'm going to take the age thing out that we've talked about for forever. But now we get into the really fun stuff. Firstly, maps. We know, based on the winter preview show, we're getting 2 new maps, one kind of snowy map, and another one in winter of 2025. So here are my top 2 wishes, and we'll start with the snowy map, because we already know we're getting something along that lines. You guys can predict it. Greenland. I have wanted a Greenland map for a really long time, but here's the thing. If we open the map selection screen, one of the glaring spots where we don't have anything is Greenland. So I think there's potential there, and as far as species go, we could be looking at muskox, caribou, snowshoe hare, Arctic fox, Arctic wolves, polar bear, rock ptarmigan, and some waterfowl species. I will also add on Arctic Alaska could be similar and add Dall sheep, but we have Yukon Valley. That big glaring weak spot on the map for Greenland is why I kind of went that direction, and I would just really love to see really anything that brings muskox into the game. So I'll leave that open, any snowy map with muskox, but if I'm going to go for a specific one, I just really want to see Greenland. Now, after the success of Sundar Baton this past summer, I think a map inspired by the Pamir Mountains, and I hope I'm saying that correctly, could be awesome. And I'll just go ahead and say it up front, I'm going to butcher some of these pronunciations, but there's some really cool stuff in here. Marco Polo sheep. Markhor, probably one I'm getting wrong. Siberian ibex, which are huge and awesome. Like, Quadroclinus ibex, they're alright. Siberian ibex, really cool. We've got Bukhara Ibex, Argali, Uriel, 2 more awesome sheep species, Asiatic Black Bear, which is something that a lot of people felt was missed on Sooner Patan, Wild Boar, Snow Leopards, Lynx, Golden Jackal, and potential for small game as well. I think this could be a second iteration of Sooner Patan with really no repeats other than Snow Leopards. But a lot of mountain hunting. I've always wanted Marco Polo sheep. They are one of the coolest species in the world, and I think the best looking sheep species, but Argali, Uriel, they're great as well. And there's a bunch of Ibex species beyond even what I listed here. Just something that I would really like to see. I've wanted more Ibex, and I've wanted Ibex that are better, frankly, than Quattroclinas. I just don't think they were as good as they could be. But look at what they were able to do with Sooner Patan. The detail in the species and the new models, I really think they could nail it with this type of thing. And basically, you know, as I said, the reason I do these videos and these wish lists are for the thought of maybe one of these ideas catching on. So if you have a map idea yourself or any other idea, let me know in the comments below, and also let me know what you think about these 2 maps. And finally, what everybody has probably been waiting on, Great Ones. We're going to stick with our Greenland map theme for this one, and that is a Great One Caribou. And I know this kind of fits with the theme of Greenland I've talked about before, but frankly, caribou are stunning animals, and I just don't think the current models hold their weight. They just don't look that great. The antlers are okay, but not perfect, and the body models themselves could use some work. Almost every new Great One gets a model rework, so between that and the insane things you could do with caribou antlers, velvet, or even better, shedding or freshly shed velvet with those crimson red antlers, we've all seen those pictures. That could be awesome. I need that in my trophy lodge wall. Now, furs could follow along that trend that they've set recently with some that are maybe closer to your typical piebalgs or leucistic patterns, and then some that maybe use the imagination a bit more, take some creative liberty. Maybe something that resembles Rudolph? Could that be a thing? I think they could pull that off. I'll leave that to more creative people though, and move on to a second Great One, and the final thing on my 2025 wish list for the Hunter Call of the Wild, and it is not mule deer. I've suggested that 1,000 times, and I have no doubt they'd be incredible. For the sake of keeping things interesting, let's go another route. We don't have an Africa Great One yet, nor do we have a Class 9 Great One yet. Maybe that 416 Rigby I suggested could help us with a future Great One Cape Buffalo. And once again, the model rework. Look at Water Buffalo and the transformation they got with Sooner Patan. Hit Cape Buffalo with that level of makeover, add some truly huge horns with some unique features, and I think these could be awesome. I will say, probably easy to grind, although tracking may factor in here, but they're bunched up in some pretty easy to get to areas, and that's probably good for some people and bad for others. I have mentioned though, the idea of like a lion skull hooked onto the horn as a variety before, maybe some cracked horns or bosses, the furs, like, it just, the narrative writes itself. Scarring from lion attacks, missing an eye from fights with other bulls. I think they should maybe work that common brown color in, just to, you know, stick with the thing they've got going on with Cape Buffalo as a whole. And once again, that level of creativity with the furs and stuff, I'll leave to the professionals, but those would be my 2 Great Ones on my wish list, 2 maps, and all the other features that I'd like to see come to this game. And once again, let me know what you think of those. Let me know your own suggestions in the comments below. You never know what idea might catch fire and end up being that next big thing added to the Hunter Call of the Wild. So on that note, that's going to do it for this video. As always, thank you guys for watching. Merry Christmas Eve, and I'll see you next time.